Hi folks, hope you're doing well. It's 21 minutes past 4. Sorry, correction. 21 minutes past 2. The reason I said 4 is because the clock is 24-hour clock. So 14:22 now. I saw the 4. So oopsie daisy. So it's now 22 minutes past 2 on the 28th of the 5th, 2020. Right, when I left the last video, I said something there that I thought I should do a bit more on. The fact that you are really considered guilty until you are proven innocent. And therefore we need much better defence lawyers. Because think of it in a simple term. The prosecution, or not in a simple term, in simple ways, that prosecution have a detective force working for them, known as the police. What do the defence have? So with the prosecution, they don't need to go and hire detectives because they've got a whole flipping police force full of detectives that work for them. That if they get stuck on something and they need something looked into, and they need someone questioned, they can just send the police to get that person. Defence doesn't have that. Because of course the police don't work for the defence, the police really work for the prosecution. So I think we need that to be addressed within society. That there is an issue where people are judged as guilty before proven innocent, and that also helps the police to use brutality and to shoot innocent people. Because if they view you as guilty, like for example, I'm walking down the road, I'm a police officer, right? I'm walking down the road, someone in front of me puts their hand in their pocket as they're walking towards me. I judge that person has a gun, they're going to shoot me. I can now do whatever I want to that individual. Okay? Because I see that person is a murderer. In my mind, now, as soon as they put their hand towards their pocket, that person is a murderer. Therefore, I can shoot them. It doesn't have to be any trial, any jury, any defense, any prosecution. I've made that decision as I'm walking down. That person is guilty. Right? That person is going to shoot me, even though I don't even know that person's got a gun. Right? I'm now fearful. This is what the coppers who kill people, shoot them, innocent people who don't even have a gun, then say they're fearful. They were afraid. This is why they were afraid. Because automatically they view those people as guilty, that those people are going to harm them, based on what? Based on nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. There's no basis for that decision that the person is guilty, but that is the assumption. Everybody is guilty. That's why when the police take you in for question, they can hold you overnight and they can let you go in the morning because they had no evidence against you, because you're assumed as guilty. You're not assumed as innocent. Let's say if this is the case, then there needs to be much better defense lawyers. I did a video on the lawyer that I have. Now, he would be typical for even a defense lawyer. I don't think he does that type of lawyering. I think he calls himself a solicitor, but I wouldn't be able to say he doesn't do that kind of soliciting because that sounds quite dodgy. But yeah, he is weak. He's meek. He doesn't understand really that it's his job to fight for his clients. And that's the thing with a lot of defence lawyers, is that they are of that type. Unless you've got a ton of money. I mean, the best defence lawyers are the ones that used to be prosecutors, because they understand the tricks of the prosecutors, so they understand how to deflect those, so the jury isn't fooled by it. But generally speaking, it's not a good situation for people now. If you're pulled over or approached by a police officer, you have to understand that person sees you as guilty, or it's likely that person sees you as guilty. Now, therefore, that's going to change your whole approach. I mean, in America, I would be amazed if we don't have a situation soon where civilians are just shooting police officers as soon as they see them. Because if you have a gun and you believe that police officer could see you as guilty and will shoot you if your hand even moves slightly, of course, you're going to shoot before you're shot. And you have every right to do so, because you are defending yourself. Now, the problem is the law and the system has created a monster. Now, that is going to be a problem. I was watching a video earlier, just now actually. Again, there's too much of this crap around. Joe Rogan a year ago was interviewing this chap who was on the death row for 20 years. Nick, I think his name was Nick Yaris. Yeah, Nick Yaris was his name. And yeah, so Nick Yaris was a drug addict who had stolen a car, and when the police arrested him, he lied about what he'd been doing. So the police said, for all liar, so we're going to pin this murder and rape of this woman onto this young man, 20 years of age. I mean, unfortunately, that's not even the full story. You then get the story of how incredibly brutal the prison system is, and I'm not talking about the prisoners. How the prison officers seriously abuse the prisoners, to the point where every single prison officer from that period of time should probably be in prison. Some of them should even be on death row, because they killed prisoners. It's astounding. So the system is wrong. The system is wrong because the system assumes that, first of all, you're guilty. You're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. Now, this works with every single person, although it doesn't tell you what you're guilty of. You're guilty of something. It's just a case the police need to look at you to figure out what you're guilty of. But you're going to be guilty of something. That's why they take you in there. That's why they say, do you want to speak to a lawyer? Of course, they know. They know it's in your best interest to have a lawyer. They should be advising you to get a lawyer. Right, their job to serve the people includes you. So they should be serving you, but they don't. They try and have a conversation with you without your lawyer. Even when you have a lawyer, they still try and talk to you before you even get your lawyer. Yeah, it's wrong. But it's all because they assume you're guilty of something. They don't know what yet. So any person they pass on the street, that person is guilty of something. But that's partly because of the fact that we teach from a Christian point of view that everybody has sinned. Well, if everybody has sinned and everybody is a sinner, some of those sins that we've all committed would be crimes. So therefore, we're all guilty. If you can treat everyone that they're all guilty, then you're on the path to completely and utterly devaluing people. Anyone you come across, you can devalue them because they're guilty. If they're guilty, it means that they themselves have devalued people in society because they committed crimes against them. So you as a police officer can devalue that person because, after all, you are the law, so you're above these people. So therefore, if you're above them, it means they're below you. If they're below you, they're not worth as much. So therefore, their value is lower than yours. So you've now managed to devalue these people. And this is a system that society has created. Because society has told us, oh, you can trust the police. Even in the 1970s, where in the UK, the police were fairly barbaric. Yeah, they would beat the crap out of people. Yeah, they'd get you in the cells, especially if you were a bit of a wrong, and if you bad-mouthed the cops or anything like that, oh, they would beat the seven bells out of you. Yeah, whack you with their truncheons. Yeah, we've had it in the UK as well. I mean, we still have it. Not as obvious now. But yeah, it still happens. Of course it does, yeah. Yeah. Whenever they have to restrain a police officer, whenever the police have to restrain a person, you've always got to take a very close look at what they do there. Because quite often, when they're restraining someone, they use their anger on that. And that's their way of being a bit brutal towards people. Yeah, on the floor, restrain, handcuffs. Taser is a new thing that's being misused by the police. Where they try and taser people for no reason at all. As I say, it's a monster which they've created. And because they've created it, it's going to have a massive backlash. And as I say, in America, do not be surprised in any way, shape, or form that people, poorish people certainly, won't be the rich, because the police wouldn't dare treat a rich person the way they treat a poor person. That's why I say it's not racial. It's down to poverty and, the rich and powerful, the elites in society. They are protected because they're basically the ones that run the police. The police wouldn't dare treat them or even their children in such a way. Absolutely not. But if you're poor, then yeah, I would not be surprised that anyone poor who carries a gun in the next 2 years is going to start shooting police officers because they're going to claim that they were afraid for their lives. And they have a real reason to be afraid. And their lawyers should be using that. The lawyers should be using the same thing as the police say themselves. Yeah, I killed this innocent person because I was afraid. The police don't even have to justify why they were afraid. But as I've said, the reason why they're afraid is because they see everyone as guilty. So therefore, this person coming towards them, reaching into their pocket, obviously that person's got a gun. And they're going to shoot them. Also, part of it is, you see, anyone who's a good cop is not going to assume that people are going to shoot them, because if they're a good police officer and they're decent towards people, that gets around and people know that police officer is decent. But the bad ones, yeah, of course, the bad ones expect that people might want to hurt them because they hurt people. And that gets around. So they're going to suspect that, oh, okay, yeah, because I do this, then these people are going to want to kill me because I've hurt people. That's what I said in the last one. You've got to get rid of the bad cops. You've got to get rid of the ones with a bad attitude. Yeah, the ones that, as I say, the ones that go to the gym, the ones that are like the roughnecks, get rid of them. Just get them out of the police force completely. Yeah. I had a situation, I think this one was when it was. Amber had nipped someone apparently. The woman that complained. So 2 female police officers came here and knocked on the door. They started saying they need to speak to me about this. They need me to come down to the station. So I said, all right. I said, I'll get my dog sorted and I'll pop down. Okay. No, that wasn't good enough. They demanded I come down. I said, am I under arrest? I went, no. Okay, then I will come down later. No, that's not good enough. You've got to come down now. So then one of the women forced her way into my property, pushed the door open, then grabbed a hold of me and said, excuse me, that's assault. Yeah, you forced your way in without, you haven't got a, a warrant to come in. You've forced your way in, so it's break and entry basically, or forceful entry, which you're not allowed to do. That's another thing. Oh, that's another thing. They've had this situation now, and someone was talking about it. Interesting point. Where the police also do this thing, where they use, I think, terrorist excuses for going heavy, very, very heavy, on getting into someone's property. Where this person is someone who's... There was that situation recently, wasn't there, where, again, the police being way over to the point where they're the law, these people are beneath them, and they used battering rams, they used all this crap to speak to a woman who there was no serious offence. She wasn't being suspected of murder or anything like that. No, I think it's a man they wanted to see. It's a man they wanted to see. Now, her ex-boyfriend they wanted to speak to, this woman's ex-boyfriend. So they did a dawn raid on this woman's house, forced her in, never announced that they're police officers, right? Just all these people crashing into this house. So, of course, the boyfriend reaches for his gun. The police then, I think, fire 24 shots. 3 or 4, I think it's about 12 actually that went into the woman, killing her. They wanted to question her about her ex-boyfriend. They thought he might be there, even though there's no evidence he was there at all. But a dawn raid with 20, 30 officers, way over the top. It's again, that's a way of justifying their budget. Yeah, we need a huge budget because we use all these officers to do these dawn raids, so we need to pay all these people, so increase our budget. Absolutely and totally disgraceful. Disgraceful business. Now, okay, I probably haven't got all the details right of that. It just crossed my mind. That's right. Okay. But as I say, at the moment, the situation with the police is they are behaving in a way that is utterly and totally disgusting. And because of that, it's a problem. It's something that has to be dealt with. Because there's going to be a backlash. At some point, there's going to be a backlash. Police officers are going to be killed by civilians. And these police officers may even be good police officers that are killed. Unfortunately, that may happen. It probably won't be the bad ones that are killed, unfortunately. And of course, then everyone's going to say, oh, how out of order these young men have, or young women, whatever, have killed these police officers. How dare they think that it's okay to do that? Look at why. Why has this happened? Yeah, there's a ticking time bomb sort of issue here. Certainly in America, if you treat your poorer citizens in such a way, there are going to be consequences to that. You see, the point of it is the poor people massively outnumber the police force. Massively outnumber them. And so if they decide to, okay, the police want a war, we'll give them a war, then that's going to be really bad. So really, it's going to be up to the authorities. Well, the mayor, local mayor in the area of the man who died because the officer knelt on his neck, has asked the district attorney to arrest and charge that officer. So that's a good step. But it's only a step, and it's quite likely the officer will not be arrested or charged, or if he is charged, he'll be found not guilty because, you know, dear. It's a bad situation, folks, it really is. So, I mean, America is extreme. What some of the things that happen in America are the extremes. Although, actually, in Russia, it's going to be a lot more extreme. It's just it's not video recorded, is it? You know, in China, again, it's not video recorded, generally speaking, in China. So, therefore, they're going to be far worse, as in brutality towards their people. But it's just never shown. So, again, it certainly is the case. You go to Russia, you go to China, and other countries. You know, you go to Saudi Arabia and you're accused of theft. Take that blinking seriously. You could lose a hand. Yeah, before they even realise, oh, sorry, it wasn't you. What are they going to do? Sew your hand back on? Weeks later, nope, you lost a hand now. Do not trust the police. Wherever you are, do not trust the police. They are in a situation right now which they have created themselves, which means you cannot trust them. There are one or two that you should trust, but generally speaking, you can't trust them. I mean, any decent police officer will say you shouldn't trust the police. Yeah, make them earn that trust. That's a fair point. It's just like us. If they consider us as guilty, we have to consider them as guilty. We're using their measure. Right? For our own protection, we have to think, okay, potentially this is a bad police officer. So we've got to be aware of that fact when we're dealing with this person, because we can't trust them. We can't trust their motives. We can't trust their training, because their training is supposed to stop them from doing things like that. Their training is supposed to stop them from thinking that they're worth more than the rest of us. Their training is supposed to stop them from believing that everyone is guilty until they prove themselves innocent. But their training has failed massively. Even the training probably is a lot more now on the fact of, you know, treat people as if they're guilty. Yeah, make people prove that they're innocent. If anyone has ever been arrested, you know, if you've ever been questioned, you know that the police say to you, okay, this crime happened. We think you had something to do with it. Where were you on that day? Where were you at that time? Now, they could be speaking about something that happened months ago, even years ago. You have to make sure that you have an alibi. Otherwise, they come after you. Excuse me, if you're assumed as innocent, then it can't be a situation where you're pulling people over and say, what were you doing in 2018 on the 21st of September at 5 p.m.? Who's going to know that? Who in their right mind is going to have an answer just off their head, you know, out of their head, just like that? Oh yeah, on that day, yeah, I was playing snooker in the local snooker hall just down the road. I booked 2 hours. I was playing with a friend. That's his phone number. There you go. And even if that was the case, a friend giving you an alibi? Nope. What the police want is actual evidence. Well, how are you going to do that for something that happened 2 years ago? You can't do it. But the reason why they do all that, because they put you under pressure. They want you to fold. They want you to say, oh, yeah, I was in the area, but yeah, I didn't do anything. Or yeah, I might have been in the area. I don't know. Because they talking about something 2 years ago. Well, maybe I was in the area. I don't know. Because you're thinking, well, maybe they got my DNA from that area. It's like a comedian was saying, I'm not going to go say exactly how he said it because it's a bit crude. He was saying that he was challenged to do something in an area. I think it's a graveyard or something. We just say he was challenged to pee in a graveyard. And he said, no. He was going to do it. And they thought, oh, God, no. Because let's say in a few weeks' time, if someone's murdered here, they've got my DNA right here. For me doing this, they have my DNA right at this point. So they're going to come knocking on my door because they've got my DNA where someone died. And that's a point you could be thinking if they question you that, well, maybe they got my DNA from something. Maybe I was in the area. Maybe I touched a railing nearby. Maybe they've got me on video sitting at a cafe nearby there. And as soon as you say, no, you wasn't there. Oh, gotcha. You were there. You were at that cafe. That's why you must have a lawyer. Because a lawyer will help you to understand that you don't need to answer that question. They have to prove that you're guilty. You don't have to prove you're innocent. A lawyer will help you to realise that. So if you ever get questioned by the police for anything, and most of the people they question are innocent. So just because you get questioned or you may have been questioned doesn't mean you're guilty. Of course, they really have to question people, because if someone makes a complaint about you, even though that complaint may be complete BS, they have to speak to you about that. So, people get questioned all the time. But a lot of people do understand that even if you're questioned over something which is absolutely stupid, the police will often try and do you for that. Crazy business for some stupid little thing. Like I mentioned the thing with the home around here in a video I did the other day. I think that was on Bad Authorities, where they held me overnight. Over what? Me playing with my dogs in a little field next to a care home. That's a crime? It's a public bit of grass. That's what you deal with. Now, that's what you've got to deal with. That's the thing. You've got this situation now with authorities that, to most of them, you are counted as guilty until you prove yourself innocent. So, yeah. Ain't good. That's why you had a situation the other day where, what was it? This person said, I think respect should be given automatically. So, no, I'm sorry. No, respect is earned. The same as, trust is earned. You can trust people up to a certain degree initially. And that degree is basically, I'm going to come over and speak to you because I'm trusting you're not going to stab me in the neck with something. That's all the trust you get really initially. After that, there are things that people look for in you that tell them whether they can trust you. But that's something that gets built. Same as respect. Respect is the same. So, yeah. All these things aren't. And, the police, maybe they've got to earn our trust back. I say this is worldwide. This isn't just America. America is extreme, along with China and Russia. If they videoed it, you'd see they're probably worse. But the UK, Germany, other countries, again, you're going to have police officers that are going to be abusive. That one, the video the other day, was the, I think, Canadian police officer that detained that woman's service dog. Again, his attitude was all sorts of wrong there. especially at the time of Rona, when we were in Rona, what he was doing was bang out of order. And that wasn't America, that wasn't Russia, that wasn't China, it wasn't any of these people where you expect the police to be nasty. Don't trust them, folks. Trust the ones who show you that you can trust them. But even up to a certain degree, understand their job. Their job is really to suspect people of guilt. That is their job. So when you work in that sort of a job, you've got to expect that people are a bit distrusting of you. That you're not going to be quite as open in your discussions or in your jokes if you've got a police officer standing next to you or someone who works in that area, because excuse me, I don't want to say anything dodgy with you because you're going to record it, and if something happens in the nearby, oh well, he said something similar to that when he was joking, so he's a person of interest. Yeah. And there you go. The monster is released, and it's going to grow if it doesn't explode. And it's better if it explodes and it's put back in its box, really. Yeah. If this monster is killed, that'd be a far better thing. But without any deaths of officers or of any more civilians wrongly killed by police, what we really need is for the police to finally take account of their situation, which, as I say, in places like America is unlikely, because you've got a president who pretty much celebrates all this stuff. He doesn't mind at all that you've got police officers that are brutish. He sort of encourages that. He encourages his own supporters to be brutish against protesters. Yeah. He encouraged his own supporters to take guns into a congresswoman's area, to a place of government, which again is disgusting. So, you can't expect the police to necessarily be motivated to do that with him in charge, but that's the thing. They've got an election coming, and this is another reason to maybe try and get someone else in power who will actually hold the authorities accountable. So, although, again, Obama didn't do that, did he? It's going to take a very strong person to want to actually sort the police out. Certainly on a national level. A president doing that. I mean, you've had people like the mayors of New York have done that. Other states have done that individually. As a general situation, the whole mentality of the police has not been done, has it really? So, anyway, I just thought I'd add that to the other one because, it just fitted with the end of that video. This one does, so there you go. I'll leave it to it for now. That's enough of that. It is a tough, slightly depressive subject, but it's going to be talked about. I mean, from a Christian point of view, again, it's tough. You've got to be wise. So, I think wise wisdom says you've got to realise that if the police force is a bit dodgy right now, then we really shouldn't be trusting these people, and we shouldn't be using their ways to do things in the church. That's a certainty. Right, speak to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.